My name is Joanna Jacobs, and I'm here with my mom, Anna Singer. Here's my mom.
Hello.
And what we're going to talk about today is making challah. Challah is a type of Jewish bread that traditionally has egg in it. It's yeast. It's a yeast-based bread, and the form of challah that you are probably most familiar with seeing is braided. Jewish people eat challah especially on the Sabbath, on Shabbat, which is, for us, it's Friday night, Friday sundown to Saturday sundown. There are a couple of reasons that religiously it's important to eat bread on Shabbat. But one interesting thing is that it doesn't say anywhere in the Bible that you actually have to eat challah. It's become traditional to eat challah, especially in Europe and America, because of the traditions of all the different countries where Jews went during the diaspora, which was when Jews went from the Middle East to all different countries of the world. So,
including China.
Including China, Mom says. Yeah. So any country where Jews have lived, there's a bread tradition that goes along with their observance of Shabbat. And in European countries like Germany, Russia, Poland, that evolved into an egg bread tradition, and then it eventually evolved into a braided egg bread tradition. It is also traditional to have 2 loaves of whatever bread you're eating on Shabbat, because the biblical story of the Exodus from Egypt included the story about the Jews getting manna from heaven. Every day they would get a portion of manna, but for Shabbat they would get 2 portions, because they weren't going to get a portion on the day of rest. They weren't going to do any work to collect the manna. So the day before they would get 2 portions. So now it's traditional to have on your Sabbath table to have two little loaves of braided challah. So what we're going to do first is my mom is going to show how she mixes the dough. And she uses a food processor, but you can also do this by hand. You can do it if you have a stand mixer. A stand mixer is great for mixing bread. Each method is, works fine and is, very satisfying in its own way. The advantage to a food processor is it helps it come together very, very quickly, and it gets it past a kind of sticky stage that is sometimes hard to maneuver with your hands. So, all right, she's going to step in and start to do that. And the first thing I was going to show you is she's already put into the bowl of the food processor, she's already put the dry yeast. And this is just the same yeast that you can get in the baking aisle of the grocery store. You can get it packaged in envelopes, or you can get larger bulk packages. And this brand is Fleischmann's. And she put in a package worth of yeast, which is 2 1/4 teaspoons. Right. So here she is.
And for a Cuisinart, this is the dough mixer, as opposed to the sharp chopper that you use in the Cuisinart to chop things. So this is the dough mixer. I'm going to put that in. I'm going to put in a cup of warm water, not hot, because if it's too hot, the yeast will die. And you don't want that to happen. And you wait just a very little time. Come on here. Just mix it up a little bit. Wait just a very little time until it bubbles. And when it bubbles, you know it's alive. So it's not yet bubbling, but it's very close. It's going to bubble even better when I give it some food. And the food is, this is my sugar bowl. And the food is a tablespoon of sugar, which the yeast is going to eat so that it will bubble more. And it's already working. It's already happy yeast.
Do you want me to show again what it looks like? Here, I'll go ahead and show again.
Starting to
sorry about the awkward camera work. Oh boy, this really isn't working.
It's kind of hard to see it, but
Yeah.
But you'll get used to the. Oh no! I don't.
No. Okay.
I just don't want it to spill on your. On your.
Well, it just kind of looks like you know, the yeast is gathering a little bit in the water, and it's forming little bubbles.
Yeah.
And another thing that you can say about challah is some challah is very, very sweet, and some challah is much less sweet. Mm-hmm. And if you like your challah sweeter, if you like it more on the cake level of sweetness, just go ahead and add more sugar at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. But we prefer it to taste like bread rather than cake. So, and now that I have proved the yeast, I'm adding about a teaspoon of sugar.
No,
salt. I'm sorry. And the reason I'm doing that is because if you don't put a little salt into bread, it tastes flat. And a half cup of any vegetable oil. This happens to be canola oil, but it's any neutral oil, really. Okay, don't want that to dribble too far. And this is the last of the liquid that's going into the dough. 2 eggs for this amount, and the amount I'm making is just one loaf. Okay, so I'm gonna break in 2 eggs. Excuse my fingers, but you won't be eating it, too bad. Anyway, it's going to bake at well above boiling temperature. And let's see, if you were using the stand mixer, you might turn it on just for a second to break up those yolks. What I'm going to do is just twirl this and try to break up the yolks. Actually, the yolks are so good that they're not breaking. All right, now I am going to, this is quite simple. I am going to add the 4 cups of flour that are called for 1 loaf. Oops, that was a mess. Okay. And the flour I prefer is unbleached flour, and the best on the market is King Arthur. Not that you have to buy that, it's more expensive, and Publix actually has its own unbleached flour that works perfectly well. Okay, I'm going to turn this magic Cuisinart on. I'm 5 years old, just a little younger than my children. All right. So on. Yeah. Hi, can you see that the dough has come together and it's cleaning?
Say it again.
Okay, the dough has come together very quickly. Oops. And it has cleaned the side of the work bowl and turned into a lump of dough. Very fast. But this isn't all the kneading we're going to do. Now I want to work on the counter. My counter's pretty clean, but I do like to work on a pastry mat. It's a silicone mat that you can just wash in the sink. It's also great for rolling out pie crust. Maybe we should tip this up or something.
I did.
Okay. And here's the dough coming out along with the dough blade, which we don't need to knead, as it were. It's the problem with English, isn't it? Knead, N-E-E-D, and knead, K-N-E-E-A-D, sound exactly the same. Okay. I'm doing this because, number one, if I'm mad at something, like the upcoming elections, I can get all my aggressions out. But what it also does is help develop the gluten in the flour. So the bread is coming together. Do
you want to take the rings off?
Oh, no, that's all right. I could have done it to start. Okay, so that's the beginning of kneading. And then you've seen this on TV, I'm sure, or something. You just start folding it over, and can you all see what I was doing?
Yeah, they're all muted, Mom.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to do this for very long. In fact, that's about all we need. Just make a nice little ball, plunk it in a bowl, a smallish bowl, and it's going to double in bulk. It's going to get bigger. But that's going to take an hour or two. So instead of waiting for that, we've got some dough that's already risen. That dough is risen.
Here, I can.
Doubled in bulk. And we're going to knead it briefly. And then Joanna's going to show us how to make a nice fancy braid. Now, you can make a simple braid that would be just like the braid you put in a child's hair, or I don't know,
Yeah, you can do a 3-strand braid,
which is 3.
Honestly what I normally do. But today I'm going to show you how to do a 4-strand braid, which I told Charlie I actually had to watch a YouTube video to do this. There are lots of videos out there that help people with fancy bread braiding, if they're not, automatically inclined the way I'm not. So what you do is it helps to make a sort of a log out of it, so that you'll be able to cut it in 4 equal pieces. So I'm just gonna take a regular knife, cut it down the middle, and I just sort of eyeball it, but I try to make sure that all the pieces are equal. Let's see. And once you've cut them, if it looks like one of them might be a little bigger, you can actually kind of paste some onto. Yeah, so this one looks a little too small, so I'm going to take just a tiny lump of this one and integrate it into that. So each one of these, you just start to work separately. And you're going to start to roll it into a snake. And the more you work it, the warmer it gets from your hands and the better it is for the gluten. If you're used to making pie crust doesn't like to be worked at all. Bread dough is the opposite. Bread dough loves to be worked. So you just keep working until you've got 4 equal snakes. And, you know, they can usually get a little longer than you think they will. So, and in addition to being equal length to each other, you want them to be pretty much the same thickness all the way down and the same thickness as each other. So you don't want them to be very bulbous anywhere, or else you'll have a very uneven looking challah at the end. But you know, nothing is perfect. Certainly nothing. So that's pretty good. I'm gonna do the other 3.
Want me to?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm gonna do the other 3, and I'm just gonna try to make it the same length and the same thickness as the first one. And if there's some unevenness, I can go back and adjust before I start to do the braiding. So I think this part is really fun.
It goes right back to Play-Doh. That one's a little skimpy in the middle.
It's okay.
Remember, this batch of dough has risen for several hours already, so it's already had a chance to develop.
Yeah, bread baking takes a little while, but it's fun.
How's this?
Good.
That's a little, it can stretch.
Yeah. Okay, so we have 4 snakes. They're about the same length. And what you want to do, once you're sure that they're all the way you want them, is you want to make sure that you've attached them firmly at the top. So I've got
a little water.
I've got the 4 snakes here. I want to stick them all together, and you can just do that by pinching them. Sometimes they do need a little water. Sometimes it's helpful to put a little water on your fingers. Sometimes you just want to press down with the heel of your hand, gather it, and then fold it under. That's a good way to do it. Anyway, so, and then what the YouTube video told me to do is you want to number each position for the, all right, yeah. You want to number each position so the positions get numbers more than the snakes do, because the dough is going to change where it is, but the positions won't ever change. So if you keep the position numbers in mind, that's the best way to do it. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, the way to do a 4-strand braid, and I am looking at a cheat sheet here, is you first go 4/2. So you're going to place number 4 in between number 1 and number 2. Then you go 1 over 3, which means you'll place number 1 over in between number 3 and number 4. Then you're going to do 2 over 3. So that part, the first 2 are familiar to me from just regular 3-strand braiding, but the third step is what is a little bit unusual to me. So I'm going to start to show you. So sorry, this is 4. You bring it over so that it goes between 1 and 2, like that. And you just make sure you keep an eye on the end and make sure that it's still connected. So far it is. And you want to do this, so this is going to sound like a contradiction, but you want to do it so that it's tight looking, but it also feels a little bit loose. It needs to be a little loose so that when it rises, it has a little room to rise, because if you braid it too tightly, when it rises, it'll crack. Anyway, so I took 4 and I put it between 1 and 2. Now I'm going to take 1 and I'm going to put it between
3 and 4.
3 and 4. Thanks, Ma.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is the slightly weird one. Take 2 and put it over 3. And that's it. You just repeat that every time, but remember that you're numbering the positions, not the dough. So I'm going to take 4 and put it between 1 and 2. I'm going to take 1 and put it between 3 and 4. And then I take 2 and put it over 3. All right. So I start again, 4, put it between 1 and 2, 1, put it between 4 and 3, 2, over 3. And sometimes the dough has a tendency to kind of shrink back up, so you can just kind of squeeze it out as you go. But you don't want to do that too much. All right, 4, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, 4, 1, 2, and 3. And you just do it until you don't have any dough left to braid anymore. And when you get to the end, as I have, then you just pinch the ends together the way you pinched the ends together at the beginning. And there you have a challah that has kind of braids going down the side and braids going down a sort of a braid going down the top. That's the sort of look of a four-strand challah. Mm-hmm. So at this point, what you can do is you can garnish it a number of different ways. Some people like to put an egg wash on it. An egg wash will make it nice and shiny, and we have some egg wash. Some people put sesame seeds or poppy seeds. There are all kinds of things you can put into your challah dough. Some people like raisins. I've seen chocolate chips, whatever. You can get creative if you like that kind of thing. But Mom has an egg wash, which is just 1 egg whipped up with a little bit of water. And when you brush that on, here, we have a sort of silicone pastry brush. When you brush it on, what it does is it makes it glossy and it darkens the top a little bit, so it's quite pretty.
We're going to brush it on. Well,
here I have put it. Put it on parchment on a baking sheet. Here, I'll show you. There you go. And you can beat the egg wash up a little bit. Mom already did that.
No, it's here. So we're just, do you want to tip it so that they can see? I mean, there's nothing to it. Mm-hmm. This is just going to be brushed on the top here. And at this point, Joanna, do you want to do sesame seeds or?
Sure.
something, or
yeah.
Or we could do everything.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find that. Oh, I know where it is.
Okay. So I have a little bit of egg left over. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to make a tiny little pancake because I'm hungry. But I'll do that later.
So if you wanted to put some sesame seeds or poppy seeds or any kind of seasoning on at this point, you can just, you know, sprinkle that on. And the egg wash will help it stay on. And, you know, it'll be decorative and pretty. So at this point, you've preheated your oven to 350.
No. We have to let this
rise.
I'm
sorry. Yeah, you do. You have to let it rise.
It's gonna take about an hour to double.
You have to let it rise once it's braided. I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So pretend that we have let it rise. We put it in a preheated oven, preheated to 350, and it has baked for about 40 minutes. You can tell that it's finished when you tap it and it sounds a little bit hollow. You can also take a spatula, turn it over and make sure that it's cooked on the bottom. That's another way to tell that it's baked. So we have, because we didn't want you to have to wait for that, we have one that's already baked, so you can see what it looks like. So here is what it looks like when it's already baked. As you can see, the egg wash helped the surface be kind of dark and glossy. But if you don't feel like doing an egg wash, there's really no, you don't have to. It's pretty much just decorative. This one is a little bit uneven because so the dough was a little bit thicker when I started out than it was. I guess I pulled it a little bit while I was braiding, so but nothing has to be perfect. It's just, it's always fun to make bread, and we can go ahead and cut into it. Oh, yeah. It's actually traditional when you're eating. No, don't that cover. Don't. You can just put it down.
All right. They see.
Yeah. Right. It's traditional when you're having challah for Sabbath that you're supposed to tear it instead of cutting it, it's a symbol of community. That you do it that way. So everybody in the congregation or everybody at the dinner table gets a morsel of challah that they tear, they rip, and they pass. So everybody's sharing with each other. But if you're just making this to make sandwich bread, or just to eat it with some honey or jam or cheese or whatever you want, it's great to, just cut it and you end up with a slice that kind of mimics the shape of the braid, which is kind of fun. And then here you can see the inside, you can see the crumb. It's a very soft bread. I think the egg helps with that. And
the egg and the oil.
Yeah, the oil. And it's quite nice for making French toast. It's delicious with French toast, and it's delicious in bread pudding, if you like either of those. Those are two things you can do with old challah. So anyway, I don't know, does anybody have any questions? We're happy to. Was anything, did we skip over anything that didn't make any sense?
Thank you so much for doing that. It was a wonderful demonstration.
Well, I'm glad you could join us.
But